Happy Tuesday. It's May 17th, 2022. 1 month from today. 1 month in Peoria, Illinois. Happy hour, meetup, live show at a to-be-determined location. I got it narrowed down to 3. It's in Peoria. Wherever you stay in Peoria and the surrounding area, East Peoria, you'll be fine. It's not a big city. It's 100,000 people. But you've got, the surrounding towns. Plenty of places to stay, plenty of places to eat. Gonna have it at a cool place. We're gonna be doing a live happy hour on Friday, June 17th. Litecoin, Lisa, and I will be in Peoria, Illinois. And come on down. It's gonna be a cool event. You might even hop in there and be live on happy hour with us. Who knows? It could be happy 2 hours. We're gonna go after happy hour ends. So before, we just kind of set up and meet a little bit, and then we have our live happy hour, interact with the crowd. Afterwards, we're all going to be drinking. Who knows? We'll see when the place shuts down. Might be going all night. Don't know. We're going to be playing in Peoria. Go look up that saying, play in Peoria. Does it play in Peoria? And it used to be vaudeville theater, where Peoria was a good test market to see if things worked. And a lot of companies actually, big, like soda companies, chip companies, Pepsi, Frito-Lay, all that, which I guess they're the same. But they would use Peoria as a test market. And I can't remember, there's another place in Ohio. I don't know if it's Cincinnati or if it's Columbus. There are a couple of cities that they like to use as test markets because it's a good strata of just how well it's going to do nationwide. If it plays in Peoria, it'll play nationwide. That was kind of the thinking. And I think Groucho Marx was the guy that came up with that one. How's it play in Peoria? So, another famous cigar smoker. Not that I'm famous, but there are a lot of famous ones. I was watching the Michael Jordan thing last night. I never saw The Last Dance, that whole thing with Michael Jordan and the Bulls. And what, I never watched the whole thing. It was just on ESPN last night, and I just happened to watch it. I find it interesting, athletes who really excel, who have done well and, won championships and been very successful in what they do. Get off my butt. Slow her down. So, nothing worth being in a hurry for, honey. So, the championships, you've got successful athletes, people that do really well in their fields in life, and then what becomes of them when they retire. I found it insightful to see what his reaction was. I think it was the 98 season. They won the championship again 3 times in a row. And then in 99, I think it was. I could be wrong. It could be 98. But anyway, Michael Jordan retired. The Bulls, that great team that they had, split up. Was broken up, arguably. And, you could tell he was a little upset even now. And this was, I think, 2020 when they recorded this. But even 20 years later, he was kind of upset thinking, what, we might have left something on the table. And maybe we would have had one more shot and won a 7th championship. And I get that. I mean, you never want to leave anything on the table. But at some point, a man's got to know his limitations. And I say that all the time. And I say that because I know it to be true. At some point, you just choose not to fight the battle, not to play the game, because when does it end? When is enough enough? Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something, because you're, in his case, he's getting older, and it's, he could have gotten injured, this and that, but, some people will say it's worth playing the game rather than that. Watch out, I'm gonna tear out, and get pulled over out here in the rural woods. So, I mean, I guess you just have to, you can have resentment, you can have remorse, you can have regret, you can have all these things that make you think, well, I should have done this, I could have done this, and looking back, hindsight is 20/20. Through the lens of history and knowledge, you can make decisions now about what you would have done then and how it would have been better. But you don't know what would have happened if you'd say put that team back together. But it's really not about basketball. It's what fascinated me about what I saw of that series, that documentary, was the look into human nature and what people are made of and what motivates them and what what keeps them going. The whole reason I thought about Michael Jordan is because I was talking about cigars and Groucho Marx, because he was smoking a cigar at the end of it, and he kind of, tended to smoke some cigars during the whole thing, and it triggered, oh yeah, I did see that. But you could tell there's this kind of a somberness, and just a piece of him is now missing because he can't compete at that level anymore. And I think that's important for all of us to realize that you're not always going to be able to do the things that you think you can do. You're not always going to be able to do those things that you used to be able to do. And coming to grips with that and understanding that, that's tough for some people. Some people can't handle it. If they're not in the limelight, if they're not the star, the number one, they don't want to compete. They'd rather check out. They'd rather just not be a part of it. And it says a lot about who we are as people. And me, I mean, there are different chapters in my book, and that's kind of how I look at it. You can't, my experience is you can't just focus on, one thing in life, like I'm really good at this, and when I'm not good at this, then what? It's not a good thing. You see that with athletes a lot. They turn into complete train wrecks. You see that with millionaires a lot. I'm a millionaire. I won the lottery, and so now that's who I am. That's what defines me. I've got money. But should that define you? I mean, should you let that one thing define you? Or should the definition of you just be the actions that you take given the problems, given the issues, given the challenges that you're faced with during life? And that's really what makes you a human being. That's what makes you who you are, rather than, oh, this is so-and-so's son, or this is so-and-so's, nephew, or this is that person's dad, and identifying people that way. It's like, no, you're a real person. You're a person who stands for something. Or, it's like, oh, that's the guy that won this. He's that guy that played basketball over there. And, it's, do you want that to define you? And that's really up to us. You can choose to allow that to define you. Just like Michael Jordan, he could say, he's the greatest basketball player of all time, that basketball player, Michael Jordan. But, I think he's done other things in business, to continue. But it's tough when you're really good at something and kind of the best at something to not want to keep doing that. That's got to be a struggle for people. But as human beings, we've just got to learn to adapt. I mean, that's what makes us very special, I think, is that we can adapt. We've got people living in South Florida. We got people living in, northern Minnesota. And it's, we're all human beings, and we can all adapt to that. And it's what we do. And I think it's very important that we do adapt to the two things that change in life. In our monetary system right now, we need to adapt. We need to realize that right now, it's not going to be the same. The system that worked, the whole, everything's going to be fine. You're going to get your Social Security, you're going to get your retirement. That even wasn't, Social Security was never supposed to be a retirement fund to begin with, but that's what it's become. Because when you start paying into something like this, and you start throwing your labor and your energy into something like this, or having it extracted involuntarily, arguably, then you say, well, I deserve to have that back. I deserve to, I paid into this. And then when you steal the energy away from people through inflation, at some point they have nothing left to lean on. So the money that they have, they can't even save it. And if they do save it, it's worth nothing. And so they're dependent. Hey, I need that Social Security. I need to have something back because, everything that I take in, it just gets destroyed. And it's a struggle. But we have to adapt. And we say, okay, what can we do to fix things? What can we do to mitigate these disastrous circumstances? And, that's where crypto can come in. And you have to be very good about that. I don't want to beat the dead horse, but that's why I'm a big fan of Litecoin. It's just it's a sound asset. It really is. I mean, it's a finite asset, and it's just math. So if you know the math, you see the math of Bitcoin and the math of, hi, Franny says hi. Say hi, Franny. She says, let me out. I want to go potty. Little stinker. Look how little she is. All right, I'm going to put her out here. But it's just math. It's just numbers. And you just look at the numbers and how much comes onto the market, and you know how less comes onto the market as time goes by, and how there are more people trying to get into it as time goes by. And you realize you have a scarce asset that, as more people understand the fundamentals and what it can do as far as how it can transfer value, permissionless, decentralized, not controlled by one authority that can shut it off. When people realize that, wait a minute, you can't turn this system off, and I can hold that possession in my wealth. I don't have to worry about someone taking it from me or asking someone to use it. I mean, you realize the value of that. And as you get older, or as I get older, I should say, I shouldn't generalize. Sweeping generalization, man. As I get older, I realize the importance of that. And I realize how critical that is to be able to control your wealth, control your energy. You know, because you only have so much left, and, you know, it's precious. And so you start realizing, man, this stuff's pretty valuable. I need to figure out how to hold it and how to store it. And if I have to, pass that on to other people. If, you know, and it's just, the system that we have right now, all they want to do is rob you and not let you pass anything on. Hey, there's a death tax, there's this tax, there's, you know, they just make it difficult for you. And if we can find a way out not to use that system, if we can use cryptocurrency, if we can use something that we control, or the network controls that's based on math that we can trust, then that's kind of got to be the goal, I think. So that's why I'm a big fan of Litecoin. And in 2 days, you've got Mimblewimble activating, which is the privacy feature, the confidential transactions. You're going to be able to send Litecoin, I don't want to say anonymously, but you're going to be able to send it privately. Pretty big upgrade. Very big upgrade. It'll be, we'll look back through the lens of history with 2020 vision and say that that was a big deal. At the time, you didn't realize it. Some people did. I realize it. You know, there's a few out there that realize how important this is. But as it becomes used and people understand what it is, we're going to say, wow, that was a big deal. It will become a big deal. So that will be reflected in the price. I mean, and the price is just US dollars, which US dollars are, you know, casino money. But it does reflect, you know, the will of the people in a lot of ways, because they spend those to acquire more Litecoin. And when they realize how valuable it is, the price will go up. That's just what it is. But the utility will always be there. It doesn't matter what the price is. You know, I've said it before, you know, you can buy a house for $100,000 and then they can say, well, it's worth $500,000. You know, on some website they tell you that. And you say, wow, I'm rich. And then they send you a tax bill, you know, that's, you know, for $500,000 assessment. Whoa, I'm poor. But, you know, just because they say it's worth $500,000, is it? Because you're not selling it, you're living there, and it was the same yesterday as it is today, even though they say the price changed, and they could say it's worth $10,000. But it doesn't change the value of what it is for you, because you're still getting the same benefit out of it. So that price, does it really matter? I mean, psychologically, yeah, it does, and it doesn't matter until you sell it. And then it's whatever the market will bear. But if you're going to live in it and you're going to die in it, you know, and you know you're not going anywhere, it really doesn't change anything for you, that dollar value. You know, it's the same house. It does the same thing it did yesterday for you. So it's kind of it's just that artificial illusion that we live in, you know, and it's just a big simulation in a lot of ways. It's, I don't know, makes you really think. When you step back, and are we somebody's ant farm? Are we just in some role-playing game, you know, and we're all just Sims? You know, is that what it is? Because we do the same thing with, you know, our games, and it makes you wonder. But you got to look at it for what it is and adjust accordingly and adapt. And that's very key. Have to adapt to what is happening. You can say that, well, you know, digital money, that's the devil's money. Well, you can say silver was the devil's money because 30 shekels of silver betrayed Jesus. I mean, anything can be the devil's, you know, tool. It's just how you use it. It's how we use it. They're spraying the fields. You know, that's another thing. Litecoin Lisa tagged me in an article about peanuts and how peanuts are, I mean, just toxic, really. You know, everybody thinks they have peanut allergies, but if we go and look at what goes into them and how they're produced and the chemicals and just the toxic garbage that they use to grow peanuts, it's no wonder you get sick when you eat them or have a reaction. It's just not healthy. And I mean, we even linked to cancer. Everything's linked to cancer because, you know, it's all these unnatural things that go into your body. Just like this guy spraying the field over here, killing the weeds. I mean, so you can put genetically modified corn in the field that then will grow under any circumstances, and then they'll spray them again, you know, to kill bugs and weeds, and it won't affect the corn, but it does get on the corn, so you would think that it would get absorbed in the corn, and then the soil's already a toxic cesspool of chemicals. So, I mean, anything, and it comes down to this, you know, this is why I brought it up, is because most of the things are genetically modified. So many things are based on corn, which really isn't good, but with the peanuts, I mean, it's one of those things to where the article goes and says, well, you know, how to prevent this. You know, if you like peanuts, what do you do? Well, consider looking at organic peanuts. That's what I do. Only peanut butter I buy is organic peanut butter because I don't want the stuff because it has to be produced in a different way, you know, and it's supposed to follow certain standards. And I mean, it's important. But we're getting inundated with garbage and controlled at every level. And it's so important to make that decision and say, oh, well, the Jif peanut butter is, you know, $3 for the big jar. I don't even know. But the organic one's $5. I'm going to pay the $5. I mean, it's just not worth it. I mean, I see how this stuff gets grown and just the stuff that gets sprayed on it. I mean, and in the defense of a lot of people around here, there are fields where they're, you know, specifically growing non-GMO soybeans, non-GMO corn. And that's awesome. I'm glad that they're doing that. And that's the way it should be. Instead, it's just like Petri dishes out here, the soil, you know, to where they just put the chemicals in it and let the things grow. And, you know, it's a big science experiment, a big simulation. So, I mean, very important. Eat the things that are healthy for you. Find organic foods. And I know it's more money, but the thing is you don't have to eat as much if you're eating more nutrients. And so you'll go to McDonald's and get a meal, and then you'll be like, oh, my belly feels full. Then you'll get hungry again. You know, and you go to a lot of these restaurants, and it's the same thing. Not picking on McDonald's, but, I mean, it's just the big, you know, they're the biggest target. But you go to these fast food restaurants, and you fill yourself up, and you think you're full, but then you're still hungry. And then you eat more. It's because you're not getting any nutritional value. When your body's starving, it's like, you didn't give me any vitamins. You just filled a hole, you know, and help me out here. And that's the same thing with a lot of these foods that are hitting the market right now. They're just not sustainably grown, you know, and they put them in these fields, these toxic baths, these fields to where, you know, it's just grown in chemicals. Well, it's not going to have any nutrients in it. So buy organic anytime you can, you know, and the more nutrients you get, the less you're going to have to buy because your body's going to take those things in. All right, I rambled enough, but again, adapt. We just have to adapt. We're human beings. Adapt. All right. Thanks for watching. Tuesday. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. If you think it's wrong, don't do it. If you think it's right, you're probably right. Go ahead and do it. All right. I love you all. Hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. And hit that thumbs up if you like what you see. And I appreciate your time. All right. Love you all. Have a wonderful day.